Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. So let's take a look at Bitcoin. There's a couple of things I want to point out going into the weekend. We're bouncing into a little bit of a resistance point here in a couple of levels, and so we just got to keep an eye on it. I'm going to show you the pros, the cons, the plus, the minus, the negatives that I'm seeing, and we'll see where we go from here. Some of the altcoins are still strong. There's a lot of them setting up, and so it's a little bit of a mixed market, but it's good to have a little bit of a slower market. The last couple of days were just so crazy with all the selling and the bouncing and all that fun stuff that it's kind of a welcomed pause, if you will. But I don't think it's going to last. We're going to see one way or the other here in the next couple of days going into the weekend. So here's what I want to point out. This is the daily chart of Bitcoin. This is the Bitstamp exchange, and you can see we had the big sell off here with the big wicks. So let me change my color there. Sorry about that. And so that's the positive, right? And at the low point here yesterday, we were 50% off the top, right, off of the old highs. And so that's a significant correction, and that's a positive because it just goes to show how far down we've already moved. And so it's been a big move. It's washed out a lot of bullishness into the market, and it's been a long correction. Now, corrections are certainly healthy, and they will set up new bases from which we can launch and start making new rallies, but the process is never fun, no doubt. The other positive is we did see big volume coming in at the lows, which is signs of capitulation, but we also saw that back here, to be fair, and that obviously was not the ultimate low, but we did have a pretty good rally after that low here at the end of December. And so here we are. Now what I don't like is the fact that I'm not seeing the big green bar follow through day yet, right? And you see the two big days. Now granted, this was a big long wick that ended near the high, so even though that's a red bar, that's very bullish. A lot of support came in here at the lows, but I want to see some follow through, right? I'm not seeing that yet, and so this next couple of days is going to really show a lot and see the next direction of the market. Now the thing to watch here is, though, there's this big resistance level that I'm watching in and around that mid 12K range that we're starting to bounce into, and that also happens to correspond with the declining moving average on the 10 EMA there. So a couple of levels to watch. First is this key level here. Let me change that here for you. So that big level, and that just happens to be right around 12.6, 12.5, give or take, and that's where the moving average is right now. And so could we just bounce into that and then fade, maybe do a retest of this second low and set up a good double bottom? That's certainly still possible. It's in the realm of possibility. The other thing is we could overshoot this and go higher, and this little area here is going to be the next resistance area. So really the resistance zone to be watching is just that area in and around, you know, between 12.5 and the low 13K range. And now it's a pretty wide zone, but that's the key level to be watching over the next couple of days. If we start to bounce into that area and then really see some selling come in, it's going to be time to get cautious again, because we most likely will see a pullback, and how far and how deep that goes, it's going to say a lot. If it's a pullback that bounces and then just tests these lows and then comes up again, that's going to be very healthy. It'll set up a good back test of the lows, and at that point I expect we would break above that resistance to the upside when we came back up. But volume's going to be a key there. Now if we zoom in, you're getting a little bit of a different story, right? Looking at the 4-hour chart, it looks stronger, it looks healthier, just from the sense that this was a big washout, a lot of selling volume at the extreme low, and then followed by two very strong 4-hour bars coming off the bottom. And so that's a good sign. So it's a little conflicting here. Now what I want to see in the very near term is, do we see some follow through the upside? Can we see some more strong volume come in on the buy side right in here as we get some upside potential? So that's what I'm looking for. I want to see some more upside confirmation, but again, into the next couple of days, just watch and see how we start to act in and around that zone. You got to remember that if we bounce into that 12.6 to 13K level from the extreme lows there, you know, that's going to be 35 to 40% depending on how far that bounces. And that's a significant move to the upside. It would not be unusual to see a pullback after a 40% bounce off of the lows. And that's just going to be normal action, normal profit taking. And if we do see pullbacks, that is healthy. Some backfilling, backtesting is good. But the question is always, is it just a bounce right now? And we're just bouncing off of the extreme lows, and do we go lower, right? And so a lot of people are still expecting 9K and 8K and maybe even 7K. Do we see that? That's yet to be seen. Is it possible? Yes, it's still possible, and we've certainly not seen confirmation to the upside yet. But you know, the fact that we saw that big washout, the fact that the RSI did hit some pretty low levels, not extreme like we've seen in the past, but it was down to 35 and at one point 33 before we bounced. Those are signs that say the low was probably in. And from a longer term perspective, you know, these are areas where if you're a long-term investor, if you're a long-term believer in Bitcoin and crypto and all that, I mean, these are not areas to be selling at, right? So you don't want to be selling at the low, especially if you're buying at the top. Now, this is not financial advice, but this is just me saying what I would do and would not be doing. And if I was buying, I wasn't buying at 20K, but I would not be selling here at this point if you've already written it down 50%, right? In fact, I have been putting in new capital into the crypto space here at these lows. I mentioned I bought at the low here, not the exact low, but I was buying at the 10K level. And if it dips further, if we see 8K and 7K, absolutely I will be buying, because I'm a long-term believer in crypto, and I believe Bitcoin's going to be strong, and we're going to base out and build a new floor, and eventually we're going to have a new run that hits new highs again. And so however long that takes is yet to be determined. And in fact, the longer we go and the more kind of sideways action that we build over the course of weeks, you know, if we continue to do one of these and back and forth here before we break new highs, that's just going to set up a much stronger base and a floor from which to rally. Now, if Bitcoin just decides to bounce and meander here and build a new base, maybe go up, maybe come down, and, you know, just kind of be boring, that would be awesome. Because in that scenario, many of these strong, younger, newer, smaller cap alts are just going to really start to take off, and the better projects are going to survive and they're going to thrive. And so that's what I'd be looking for, right? And looking at some of those other names, and there's a lot of them. And just to kind of very quickly look through a few names, some of the ones that I like, for example, ICX. They've got a couple events coming up here in the next couple of weeks, so it'll be interesting to watch this one to see how it plays out over the next few weeks. Long term, I think this is one to be watching. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this, and I have been accumulating some here recently, but it's kind of testing this downtrend right now, so keep an eye on that to see if it can break above. Another one is Link. Link here is actually having a pretty good day today, and that's on news that's been added to an exchange, but still very strong. Big volume coming in, breaking out of a key resistance area, and so that's good. Ven, another one. VeChain is a good name. Has had a big run already, but just look at that base it's been building. Broke out here, pulling back, normal pullback, testing that breakout points. And so there's certainly strong names that are out there and that are also setting up. One I'm watching here is IOTA. And this one's going to be interesting to see. If you look at the daily chart of IOTA versus BTC here, it's putting in this very tight pattern here now. You can see off the top, right, there's a very clear resistance point that's starting to wedge. And here at the lows, the support level is also starting to rise. And so let's keep an eye on this one, see if it could break out. If it does, that'll be a pretty significant break of resistance and could set up for another run to the upside. And Walton is another one I'm watching here. During this whole shakeout, held up very well. Yes, there was a lot of profit taking off the top, but that was just very extended, but didn't even break that 10 EMA versus BTC. So holding its own versus Bitcoin. Got to keep an eye on this one. And so there's several others that are like that, and I just want to use these as an example that even if Bitcoin has these little pullbacks and these shakeouts, because you got to remember, in the big scheme of things, I mean, okay, let's say we test the lows from here. You know, that's huge, right? That's 19-20%, but you know, you're already off the highs 50%. If we go up 10% and down 10% and just go back and forth, it's really not that big of a deal in the big scheme of things, especially when you've got some of these names, these altcoins that they just have huge potential and have been known to run double-digit % gains when they do start to break out. And so you just kind of have to keep that balanced view. Now, if Bitcoin does have a very sharp leg down and we undercut and we go to 8K, then yes, even the alt markets are going to get hit, just like we saw a couple days ago. There was a red across the board, and that's just very typical of these markets. When Bitcoin has those huge sell-offs, the alts will sell off at least the magnitude, if not double the amount that Bitcoin does. So keep that in mind. So in the next few days, just kind of to recap, watch this resistance level. If we start to bounce into this, keep an eye on volume. Let's see how it looks as it gets in there, if it's strong. So the next 2 days are really going to tell us a lot. And I'd be watching that, and I'll keep you guys posted. Until next time, take care, everyone.